Hello everyone. In the video series that I'm going to try to film today, we've got quite a lot of things to talk about in this box right here. I'm talking about fragrances that I want to kind of get to know together with you. It's about this series called Newbie or Nube or one of those, however you want to call yourselves. But first, because they are part of the same order, I would like to talk to you today in a single video about this little beauty that I got together with the other fragrances in the same package. This is Cabotine de Gres. This is a fragrance that I've been curious about for quite some time, mainly because I've seen quite a lot of people talk about it. It's a cheapie. I'm sure all of you know this. It's a fragrance that I got for, it's a little less than 10 euros, discounted online, of course. So because it's a cheapie, I think it's very, very popular. And I don't think it's popular only because it's so cheap, because I've heard only good things about this fragrance, reformulated or not. So I am very curious about it and I want to see how this smells. Now, the only other fragrance I have from this house is Cabotine, which is, I think, a bit more famous, or at least to me it's a bit more interesting than when you look at the notes on Fragrantica, because Cabotine is a leather chypre inspired by I think Kir de Russie, most definitely, and I talked about that fragrance a while ago, but this Cabotine was always in the back of my mind. So why not? It's so cheap, it sells for so little money, so why not just go for it? And just look at this gorgeous little darling. I love the fact that this is so it's so quirky, it almost borders on kitsch. I like the cap so much. It's supposed to represent greenery and leaves and flowers, and I think it works well with all the the rest of the ensemble. But I have to say, when compared to Cabotine, which I have the new bottle, I don't have it with me, I'm sorry, I would have shown it to you. I have the new bottle, the 2019 release, the reformulation and whatever that implies, but the bottle looks stunning for that price. Now this one, I'm not going to lie, this looks a bit cheap. I mean, it looks like it's a cheaper fragrance. It doesn't look terribly expensive, although the materials are quite nice. I don't like this. I mean, not to say that I don't like it, but it does remind me of I'm talking about the way this bottle is sealed with the atomizer. It does remind me of older style bottles. I'm talking about Calvin Klein Obsession, the early 90s and 80s, era, where they would just have this little connection with the atomizer. It looks vintage, but for today's standards, I think it looks a bit cheap. But enough about that. Let's see how this smells. Let's see what the fuss is all about. Now, of course, I'm expecting a floral, grandiose fragrance, and it is literally that. It is a lot of flowers, and especially white flowers, very indolic, and a lot of spring flowers, which are my favorites. So a lot of greenery in this, a lot of fresh florals, which I do happen to like quite a lot. But it is quite I think this fragrance kind of shows its time period quite a lot, because this is a 90s fragrance. It's quite 1990. This is the year of the release. It was done by Jean-Claude Delville. But I think, just as Cabochard was inspired by Kir de Russie, I think, and it was released a few years later than that, I think this one is, I don't know where the inspiration for this fragrance, I don't know where to, you know, I can't put my finger on it, but I have this feeling that whatever this fragrance was inspired by, it was launched, it had to have been launched earlier, like a decade earlier, because this doesn't smell, it smells more of the 80s. And I've said this so many times about many fragrances that I've smelled lately, but I think it's true. It does have that, and this is the thing that I love in floral fragrances and in floral chypres, and as I think this might be the case, it does have that bug spray kind of quality to it, you know, plasticky white florals. There's something of Cacharel's Eden in it, just a tiny bit, but it smells very interesting and not at all, I mean, if I smelled this without knowing the price of this fragrance, what you can buy this fragrance for, I wouldn't have told you, I wouldn't have been able to tell you this this was a cheap fragrance, not at all, especially not by the scent. By the bottle, I don't know what to say. The bottle does look a bit silly, doesn't it? It does border on this maybe supermarket type of bottle, which again isn't a bad thing quite at all. So the name Cabotine, it is, I like the way this name is chosen, because of course it shares a core with Cabochard, which so Cabochard means headstrong, but Cabotine means a type of, it's a feminine noun, so it's an actress, it's a female actor who kind of overacts, chews the scenery, which I think is a very interesting name, sort of like prima donna, and I think the name fits for the way this this fragrance smells. And I think I'm quite sure that this fragrance doesn't take itself very serious. I think there's quite a bit of humor in the way this fragrance is presented and the way this fragrance is done and the way it smells. However, there are quite a few things that are coming out now that I do quite enjoy. Now, so we've talked about the name. We will look a bit on the notes for this fragrance. So it was done, as I said, it was done in the 90s. The nose is Jean-Claude Delville. Don't know what else to say about the presentation of this fragrance, honestly. There's a text here on Fragrantica that you can read. It kind of says that Cabotine is the daughter of Cabochard, a younger generation fragrance, which is true. I would like to say that Cabochard is, of course, a big leather chypre. However, there are spring flowers, there are florals in that fragrance that work so well in a chypre, first of all, and in that fragrance, secondly. And I think that this fragrance does remind me of that kind of that floral part of Cabochard. If you kind of take away anything but those aldehydic florals, because this is what it is. It's an aldehydic floral mainly. So let's look on the notes, and I will have to show you a picture of the notes for this fragrance, because whenever I see this huge extensive list of notes, I am so excited, because this is the way older fragrances used to be presented in terms of notes. Nowadays fragrances they may be as complex as they ever were. However, the notes presented are a lot fewer, and I don't think this is a bad thing. We love minimalism. We love things that are easier to understand, a few notes that are easier to grasp. However, this does mean that Cabotine is very, very complex, and it does mean that she has a journey. She has a journey to tell, and she has a story to tell. She has a journey to, you know, a road to walk. So let me just read you the notes. Coriander, orange blossom, blackcurrant, cassia, which is the buds of the blackcurrant flower bush. Then there's plum, tangerine, peach, then tuberose, hyacinth, carnation, ginger, jasmine, ylang, freesia, iris, rose, heliotrope, and violet. Oh my god, this is so the florals in this are just wild, and then you have civet, vetiver, blackcurrant again, musk, sandalwood, cedar, amber, tonka, and vanilla. Now on a first glance, this looks extremely familiar. I would like to say a combination between Dior's Poison and Maginoire. But as I said, I think there are parts of Eden, Cacharel Eden in this. Not necessarily as an inspiration for the fragrance, but you know, just to give you an idea what this fragrance might smell like if you haven't tried this yet. But from those, you know, from that multitude of notes, at a first glance, because these are only first impressions, I will have to get to know this fragrance a lot better. I would say that the plum and the hyacinth, I repeat, at a first glance, are the most obvious. Now, as I said earlier, there's something very plasticky about this fragrance, and this is where the orange blossom comes to mind. It's the type of orange blossom plus heliotrope that you might find in another fragrance that's sadly discontinued for a lot of years now. For many years, it was Gucci Eau de Parfum 1. That was an amazing orange blossom heliotrope leather, which is bring that back, or at least if somebody knows I don't know, something else to replace that fragrance with, I am all ears, because I love that fragrance. Then you have the creaminess of the ylang, which is quite present. There's woody, just a bit of woody spice in it, and I suspect carnation is involved, so I do sense the carnation that I see there. But as far as the base is concerned, with the exception of the musk, I don't get anything as of yet. I don't get any sandalwood, nothing ambery, nothing terribly resinous at this point. But as it is, I think this fragrance promises quite a lot, and it's the kind of fragrance I would love to wear. I think for some reason I associate it with Samsara, and I know I said I don't feel any sandalwood yet. Maybe it's my nose playing tricks on me. but I don't know why. Maybe it's the type of white florals. Maybe they were both launched in the 1990s, in the very early 90s. But I think so. I wear Samsara mostly in winter and very early spring when it's very cold outside still, because it just brings something out of that, out of the fragrance. Those flowers become a lot fluffier. Well, Samsara also becomes a lot nuttier in the colder season. But I feel that colder weather would be a lot would be best indicated for this fragrance. Of course, wear it whenever you'd like, but I just want to say that for me, as an inspiration, as what I'm smelling now, I would love to try this in very cold, crisp, early spring, maybe late autumn weather, as I feel the florals would be I don't know, a lot more potent, a lot more, because this is this is a big fragrance, it's a big perfume, right? It does have the potential to fill a room, to steal the attention from anybody, because it's in the name right there. It's Cabotine, right? It's a prima donna, and I think. And there's something very soapy, as I said, very fresh in this. And there's quite a lot of greenery, but it's an undefined type of greenery. It's a bit woody, but it's mostly, yeah, it's mostly in the realm of greener chypres. In the realm of openings of greener chypres, not of dry downs of chypres at all. It's one of the very few fragrances where the spring flowers are so nicely detailed, and it is mostly hyacinth and freesia. And, well, because it is a white floral, I feel that jasmine is everywhere in the mix. There's a lot of jasmine. As I said in the opening, the fragrance itself does appear as quite indolic. So there's something of maybe a bit of wilting, maybe a vase of flowers that you've kept for a bit too long, you know, maybe just flowers that are just starting to wilt, showing their age a bit, just like the Cabotine. I'm being mean, but it does have this very youthful beauty to it. I don't think, although it shows its decade quite a bit, I don't feel this is dated fragrance in terms of smell at all. I think it's very youthful, and I think it works as long as you like the way this fragrance smells. I mean, you could definitely wear it no matter the circumstances. And it has started to rain. Lucky me. Alright, so I had to wait for the rain to settle down for a bit. It's still raining, but not as heavily. But the good news is the fragrance settled a bit, and I think the way it is now, it's quite a beautiful white flower, soapy, springy, as I said, quite green, quite fresh, but again with that plasticky bug spray feel that's so reminiscent of the 80s white florals, which I think is very nice. And I don't think there's anything else to say about this fragrance, unless you would like to say something to me in the comments. It's a fragrance that I do see myself wearing, and it kind of slowly, I think it turns into, I think it starts to get shades of bluish flowers, and it is getting a bit more powdery and a bit more, I mean, it's getting fluffier and a bit cozier, if you will. It's not as screechy as when it started out in the opening. So yeah, I think these are my first impression of Cabotine de Gres. If you'd like to tell me or ask me anything more about the fragrance, do let me know in the comments. And until next time, remember, fragrance creates memories, and may yours be happy.